Hi, Mr. Soohoo. This is my Unit 11 video, and I hope you enjoy it. So, the numbers you see are numbers that represent the test scores on Mr. Soohoo's test. So, step 1 is to count the number of numbers. The beginning of this problem is always the most important because if you mess up right here, you're going to mess up the entire problem for yourself and you're just going to be screwed. So, I have 17 numbers, and step 2 is to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. You need to double check this, triple check this, quadruple check this because this part is going to mess you up no matter what if you don't do it right. So just make sure that you do this part right and then the whole problem will be fine. So step 3 is to see if you have any outliers. So an outlier we have is 0 because the rest are from 4 to 10 and 0 just don't fit into this right now. And then step 4 is to find the mean. In order to find the mean, you add up all the sum of all the terms and then you divide them by the number of terms. So 102 divided by 17, your mean becomes 6. The median is the middle term. So you find the middle term. So you counted, or I counted eight numbers in, and it turned to 6. And then step 6 is the mode, which is the number that occurs the most, and it is 5. Step 7 is the range, which is the high term minus the low term. So the next step is the spread, and the spread is from the lowest number to the highest number, which is from 0 to 10, so that's the range of the scores. And the next step is standard deviation, but that is such a long step that needed a new whiteboard. That's a step all on its own. So, and step 10 is the 5 number summary. So the 5 numbers you use are the minimum, which is 0, quartile 1, which is, since the median is 6, then you find from 0 to 6 the median in those numbers, which is 5, and then you do the same thing for quartile 3 to find the median from 6 to 10, which is 7.5, and then the maximum is 10. And the interquartile range is quartile 3 minus quartile 1, and you get 2.5. So step 9 is standard deviation, and it is the longest step. Standard deviation is a variation of dispersion of values. So this is the formula you use. So it's lowercase sigma equals x minus u, which is x is each term, and u is the average, which is the mean, divided by n, which is the number of terms you had. So you do this step for each single number. You subtract each number you had minus the mean, and you square it. And then once you add them all up, you get 88, you divide it by 17, you square root it, and then you get 2.275. Okay, so this is a relative frequency table, and we have the score, the frequency, and the relative frequency. So the score is from this many numbers to this many numbers, and then the frequency shows how many numbers were repeated. So for example, 0 to less than 2, there was only 1 repeated, which was 0. There's only 1 0. And so to get the relative frequency, you do 1 over 10 because that's how many numbers there are, and you divide that and you get 0.1. So this shows the distribution of the values. Okay, so the next step with that relative frequency table is to plot a histogram. A histogram is a picture of the distribution of the values. So we have from 2 to 12, and then 0.1 to 0.7 because that's the highest one. So you graph them, and then you figure out what it is. So this is a skewed left and a unimodel. So this is a dot plot, and this is just another way of showing how many times the numbers repeated themselves in the sequence. So this is a box plot, and this is yet another way to show your data. So this is an example of normal distribution. So the example I'm using is a survey of daily travel time had a mean of 38.8 minutes and a standard deviation of 11.4 minutes. So normal distribution has the mean, median, mode, symmetry above the center, and 50% of the values less than the mean and 50% greater than the mean. So the standard deviation, to break down these percents, the 68% of values are within 1 standard deviation of the mean, the 95% of values are within 2 standard deviations of the mean, and the 99.7% of values are within 3 standard deviations of the mean. So the mean, it goes in the middle, 38.8, and your standard deviation of 1 is 11.4. So you do 38.8 plus 11.4 to get 50.2, and then you do 50.2 plus 11.4 to get 61.6, and you do the same here. And then these have minus signs because these are minus standard deviation. So you do 38.8 minus 11.4 to get 27.4, and then you do the same thing to get 16 and 4.6. Okay, Mr. Soohoo, so this is my last reflection and our last unit video. I can't say that I'm disappointed, but yeah. So, I think my reflection of this year is way better than how I was last year. Last year I was just in a totally different state of mind and wasn't there for school and stuff, but I think this year I improved really immensely in my academic skills, and I think that this year was also a challenge because this was my first year where I worked through the entire year. So I had 7 classes and I worked 3 days a week, sometimes even 4, and that really was a challenge, but it helped me become more independent and depend on myself only, and if I really want something that I'm going to go work for it as hard as I can. So yeah.